Hi, Joe. Nice to catch up again. Um, End of season is on us, or on you. But I thought it'd be pretty good to catch up on a couple of things. One being gravel worlds, which I've heard a lot about, obviously, and I've read a lot about. So John's piece that you put on your Substack, which I messaged John yesterday and said it was he may have missed his vocation. Like I'm trying to think that I need to get him to write more stuff like that because
It's good, wasn't it?
I enjoyed reading it. Yeah, yeah. And so tell us Gravel Worlds and John as your Swanee.
Yeah, I think Gravel Worlds was, I think if I'm being honest, deep down, it's everything I expected it to be. Um, it's like, where do we start? Because in my head, the first place I'm kind of going is the start line. And it was so good to be back on a start line of a big UCI race. I've been like, right, this is the sport. This is why I started the sport. But it was also weird being on the start line. It was like the excitement and everything was there, but deep down I knew I wasn't good enough that day. Like just getting over sickness, my first race in a few months. So I was there and I was like, this is amazing. But it was like a slight bit of imposter syndrome. Maybe I was trying to mask it with a bit of excitement and whatever, but it was just so good. Like it's one of the best fun, the most fun I've ever had where I've not finished a
Yeah,
race. Like, it's just whistle goes 200 meters roundabout. 300 guys split both ways, try not to crash. You turn left, there's a crash. Then you go straight on for maybe 150 meters. There's like a 2 meter wide gap where 500 guys are funneling into. It's a canal on your right, people are moving up in the grass. Surprisingly, no one's fell in the canal. And then another 45 seconds later, you're doing a 180-degree dead turn back up the hill. So there's crashes there, there's dive bombs. Oh, it's just like bike racing at its purest. And it's like everyone's giving it crap, but it's like it was just 300 guys kicking crap out of each other on bikes with no rules whatsoever. Like you've got Belgians elbowing Belgians, Brits elbowing Brits, no team tactics, just every man for himself. And it was so much fun. And it was just, so that's where I was frustrated when it maybe 10K in. I was like, oh crap, I just don't have the legs to go with the moves I normally would. Like my head, my legs, everyone knows exactly what to do. I was like reading the race, but I was like, they just couldn't do it, which was frustrating. But it's just so good. It kind of reminded me how much fun true racing is. Um, but yeah, I think backtracking to so we raced Sunday, backtracking to the Saturday, which was recon day. It was quite funny having John there because I was like, we didn't actually do much the day before a race at all. Like reconned the morning, and I was home for maybe 1, 2 o'clock. And there's literally one line I've got in my head. I turned to John and I go, yeah, I really need to decide. Do we go for a coffee now or do we go for a nap now? Like, that's the priority of the rest of my day. And I'm like, trust me, my life isn't always like this, but it's it's so calm at like a big race until you have 5 hours just going batshit crazy. And I think that's probably what John realized as well. It's either on or off. Like, there's no in between on racing. And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think I nailed prep as well as I could have done. Everything seemed to go pretty well. It's just we knew that the end result would be. I mean, I was hoping it wasn't going to be me puking into a bush. That just is what it is. But yeah, it's like I wouldn't say I'd say no real regrets because realistically I shouldn't have been on the start line. But it was just proper fun. It was fun until it wasn't, and then I was like, right, I'm done.
yeah.
Time to call it a
What I
day.
want to take you back to the start line. So what you said just now was the like the feeling of being on the start line for a big UCI race. So tell me about the feeling. Tell me how it's different. But first, like what is the feeling? Because people wouldn't know, right?
I think the feeling it actually starts like in the morning. So I usually sleep pretty well before races. I can't fall asleep. Once I'm asleep, I'm asleep. But I woke up at 6, maybe 6:30 with like this really weird nervous feeling. And do you know when you wake up, you don't really know what's going on. It's like, right, oh shit, I'm in Belgium. And it's like that nervous excitement butterflies, which to be fair, it's not just big UCIs, it's other I get the same at Unbound. But Unbound's more of a fear because it's like 330K. This was more of an exciting fear. So it's like a slightly different feeling. And then you kind of switch off, you go through routines, you just eat a load of carbs and It was a 12 o'clock start, which was very pleasant. Usually like 6 o'clock start. And then on the start line, it's just again, it's like that jittery excitement. It's really hard to describe. And I was luckily where I was graded, I was surrounded by all my mates. So just like chatting, it's kind of like you're on a Sunday club ride, but you're at the biggest race in the world of the discipline. And then 2 minutes to go. I remember I sat next to Connor Sands, who was the Aussie gravel champion this year. And it was like, right, game time, good luck, blah, blah, blah. 1 minute to go, he turns to me, or I turn to him. I can't remember which one. And it's like, it's funny, we're all friends right now, but in a minute and a half, we're going to be kicking the shit out of each other. Like, no holds barred. And it's such a contrast between the calm, everyone mates chatting like you're just at any Sunday club ride in the world, and then it's just war. And I hate using war analogies in bike racing, but that's exactly what it is. Um, and yeah, just like that, you kind of feel like a kid again when you're on the start line. Like
Hmm.
that excitement of what could be. Because like I knew I wasn't going to win worlds, but I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a small part of me which was like, "Oh, what if?" And it's like everyone thinks they can win world championships on the start line, and that's kind of the beauty of the race.
Yeah. I don't think people appreciate the physicality. People who've sort of tuned in and looked at the Tour de France on the TV and they see a big peloton cruising through the French countryside, the sun shining, and everybody's sort of chatting and pretty chilled. And they might have seen like a sprint finish, but I don't think that they would really understand that it's a contact sport. And you know, tell us about, just give us a bit of an insight around that.
Through with cycling, so usually there's a lot of respect in the bunch once you get like higher in the ranks. Belgium doesn't really have that. Belgium, I always say it's flick or be flicked, which is kind of you guard every single position you have, and if somebody's coming up on you, you have your knee out and your elbow out to make sure they're not coming past you. And that's just you land in Belgium, like you get off the plane at Charleroi or wherever, and you're like, I am here, and I know I'm going to be a bit of a whatever this week in the race, but I know everyone else is thinking the same. And it's only Belgium's really the only place in the world where that happens. And it's like your goal is to maintain every position. And if that means you're elbowing someone that they can't move up next to you, then that's fine because they shouldn't have put their bike there in the first place. And you kind of joke it's like kill or be killed. You either you dive bomb and put your elbow out or someone else does it to you. And anything goes in Belgium. I still don't quite understand why. It's why I both love it and I hate it because it's the worst and the best place to race because it's do anything. So you can do anything to other people, but they can do anything to you. And I mean, you can't take your hand off the bars and like shove them because that is like straight disqualification. But as long as you have both hands on the bars and both your feet in the pedals, anything elbowing you can get away with, your shoulder, it's just if your handlebars are there first, it's your position. And it's I watched back some of the footage. You weren't actually allowed cameras on, but some people still put them on. And I was like, oh, wow, I've never really seen it from this perspective with me in the race. And even John showed me a video afterwards. I was like, oh, we were moving. Like, we are going stupidly fast in comparison to the guys at the side of the road stood still. But I remember that being like quite a calm part of the race. Like, it's like, oh, we're just going through a town and everything's safe. But you kind of lose perspective when you're in it, I think, of just how quick you go and how easily it can all go wrong. Because you don't really, I think the second you start kind of thinking the worst, then you kind of attracted to it. I always have a little song which I haven't asked John this, but he probably was
Hmm.
finding it a little bit funny. I always sing this song like I don't want to die, I don't want to die today when I'm racing in Belgium. And that's what's like whenever I'm going into a crosswind or a cobble, that's always what's in my head. But yeah, it's just I can't say it's just Belgium because that doesn't describe it, but it's just anything goes.
Yeah. Talking of things going wrong, it did end with you vomiting in a bush, and I can't help thinking that John somehow may be responsible for that race not ending. So uh, I gather that his bottle handling skills were not quite up to the elite rider level, and you may
But
have your nutrition may have suffered as a result of that.
I think in John and Maggie's defense, it was quite awkward to get to the feed zone. I'm not gonna lie, I was riding through the first time and I was in like the fifth, sixth, whatever group at this point. I was nowhere near the front of the race. And I was like, I'd really like a bottle of water right now, like maybe 100 km, 90 km, whatever it was. And it was carnage, this feed zone, absolute carnage, craziness. I was like, hmm. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? Grr. I have a little growl to myself, but I had enough water on me, and I obviously learned afterwards they just missed it by like 200 or 300 meters. Um, and then the second lap, so we did like a 50K loop, and I came back to the feed zone, and that's where I actually decided to call it a day. So in both John and Maggie's defense, they have 100% bottle hand up rate still because they didn't take a single bottle on. So it's well, I suppose a 0% failure rate. But no, it's having done like kind of that job myself this past weekend when I decided to go help some friends out. It's not an easy job. It's I think it's easy if you've raced before because you know what to expect. Like I knew exactly what I'd want as a rider, so I knew how to do it. But if you've never raced at that level before, it's just dangerous. It's
Yeah,
like, what do you mean I've got to lean out and hand the bottle? And if somebody's not done it before, you've got to explain, no, it's the rider's job to find the soigneur. It's not the soigneur's job to find the rider. And it's when people, there's a lot of crashes in feed zones because people don't know what they're doing.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't envy those people, but it's
I know. I mean, I'm joking about John, but I know that he had an amazing weekend, and I've talked to him a couple of times, and he said you and Max were absolutely outstanding in hosting him, and so yeah, I think he may be making future appearances at your races, which
yeah,
is
I mean, I'm still convinced. I mean, Unbound entries open in 3 weeks. I'm just saying, like, we joked this time last year that a Pullwood duo entry into Unbound. So I was like, why not? Why not next year?
Tell us about for those who don't know, Unbound is in the US. So and I know you've got plans in North America, uh, and in your off season. Tell us about your ride to California.
That was a good segue. Um, I so yes, it's when is it as we're recording this? October 16. So I fly to Vancouver next Tuesday, and then a few weeks of off season. So I won't ride a bike now for about 3 weeks. And then pretty much our first week back on the right bike, we're riding from effectively Vancouver Island down to Santa Barbara, 2,800 kilometers. We're also taking a car. So there's four of us and we're kind of relaying. So like three people ride, one person drives, the next day it changes. And it's a way of riding and seeing new places without the stress of racing. So whenever you go to a race, however important or not important it is, there's always that stress of performance or stress of I need some of my nutrition, I need some of my bottles, my tire doesn't work, I'm gonna miss the start, whatever. Whereas this is just kind of stripping stripping cycling and training back to its simplest thing. It's like we all love riding our bikes, we all want to go see new places. So some have said to me, "Oh, why are you traveling some more? Like you keep kicking off that you're traveling so much. Just stay at home." And I'm like, "Yeah, but this isn't. It's a different kind of stress. That's the thing. There's not really any stress. It's just an adventure,
Mm,
and it's on our own terms. Like we all go to random places in the year racing, and it's great fun. But we never really go anywhere we want to go. We go where the race is.
yeah.
So this is just an opportunity to ride for 10 days in good roads, bad roads, whatever, and enjoy it. It's like one night we stop in San Francisco, right over the Golden Gate Bridge. Like, it's what we're kind of one of those things we'll keep talking about it. So I was like, "Ah, we'll just do it." And it's really exciting. It's like, I'm looking forward to time off, but I'm really looking forward to getting going on that trip because it's just one of those I know I look back on in 5 years' time and be like, oh, I remember when we started our off season or our post off season with a bikepacking trip. And I think sometimes you need something like that to remind yourself why you really love riding. It's not just race, 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 train, 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 lose
Yeah,
weight, get more air. It's just ride your bike.
yeah. I think for me, there's a real parallel. A lot of us end up doing things that we're led into because it was an interest that became a passion, and then it becomes like what you do for work, and it's really easy then that other pressures take over, and you kind of forget why you're doing it and why you loved it so much in the first place. And so I think the idea that you would plan this ride in your off season, it's really connecting you back to your passion for pedaling a bike. I mean,
Exactly.
sounds
And it's
cool.
like, there's no schedule. It's like if I wake up in a race morning and I see it's raining, I'm like, oh, that's rubbish, but I've still got to go race. If it's raining on this trip, we just drive another hour and get out of the rain. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's just gonna be fun. I think that's the main thing. Fun, something a little bit different, and it's new roads. It's like, yes, I've seen so many new roads this year, but it's like it's 2008 became a line. Like there's gonna be so much new stuff to see. It's just fun, and that's the reason I ride bikes.
Yeah, I love that. Let's find some new roads. We could all do that, whether it's on a bike or not. We could all find some new roads to travel in, and what our off season might be. And if we're working in business, we might be able to take a week off, and that might be off season. And it's a good nudge that when we get some downtime, we should seek out some new roads because it definitely rejuvenates and refreshes. And can we expect some little updates from you on your ride to California?
Yes, I'm currently debating how exactly it's going to look because there's even so I've got my multicolored Rebel Rebellion bike out there currently. We've got some new parts coming for it, which is like custom sprayed. So it's like I'm thinking we start with the bike and the why, and then I'm debating how we do it day by day. But yes, there's going to be something. It's kind of my job on my flight next week to figure out what exactly.
Yeah,
Um, 'Cause it's everyone I tell about the trip, they're like, "Wow, that's cool. I want to do it." And this trip, kind of in my head, all formed when I saw Rob Britton, effectively a colleague of mine who races gravel. I saw he just did California last year. And I was like, that's cool. I've spoken to Riley about doing something similar. His looked really fun. Why don't we do it? So it's one of those, it's like, I'd like to watch someone else do it. So I
yeah,
think we need to do something. It's just, I don't want to get, however much I want to do something, I don't want that to be the reason we're doing it, if that makes sense. Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It shouldn't
so
take
it's
long,
like,
but
exactly.
um,
So I think we'll take the onboard cameras. Um, we'll take a few bits, and I'm thinking probably daily Instagram bits, photos, just enough where it's like we can make it a cool project,
yeah,
fun project.
awesome. Then I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to riding to California vicariously through Instaposts. Um, and yeah, congrats on the season, Joe. I mean, there's been some real highlights, and there's been some like amazing learning through the season, and we've loved traveling with you, and yeah, excited for what comes next.
Thank you.
Safe travels, and yeah, enjoy your ride.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny that it's like over. Like 2024 is just done,
Yeah,
and it's it's both nice, but it's like strange. Like do so much planning, so much time on the road, everything, and now it's like tick this box onto 2025, and I don't think you really get that. And you get that at the end of school year, like with summer holidays. And for us, it's off season. It's like, wow, well, the last month you all wanted to be over. Like, it's like, oh, I can't wait for off season. And you get to off season, it's like, oh, wow, they were never doing that again. And it's so bizarre, but
yeah.
yeah, it's nice.
School's out for tarmac and gravel. Well done, Joe.
Exactly. Cheers, mate.